Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be reviewing Man of Steel as the journey to Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon next month. I'm reviewing all the Zack Snyder films, watching through his entire filmography, and then once I see Rebel Moon, I'm going to review that as well. And then I'm ranking the Christopher Nolan, James Cameron, Zack Snyder films together. So I might actually throw some Christopher Nolan, James Cameron reviews in between some of these Zack Snyder reviews, but we'll see. But today we're talking about Man of Steel, a film that I've had mixed opinions about over the years, where usually I kind of have a bit of a consistent opinion, where sometimes maybe I'll like a little more than the previous time or like a little less, but I usually have around the same consensus for film. This is not one of those films. This is a film that there's times where I've really loved it and then times where I really didn't. So I've had some mixed feelings about it over the years. However, I think right now, I'm at the point where I think, for the most part, if I ever rewatch this again soon, I'd probably have around the similar thoughts. So, anyways, let's start off with the good. The good is that I think Henry Cavill is just terrific as Superman, and I kind of like it how they showed a grittier approach of Superman, where instead of the Christopher Reeve films, which are more lighthearted, they went a little bit darker. Which there's some aspects where I liked it, some where I didn't, but for the most part, I like that they went for it and it had ambition. I will always prefer ambition that doesn't quite land versus a movie that plays it safe but and reaches its goals. And this movie is nothing short of ambition, and you're gonna hear me talk about this for my other two Zack Snyder Superman movies. Anyways, I like the dark approach. Another thing I like is that I think General Zod is one of our best DCEU villains, and Michael Shannon was absolutely incredible. Um, I think a lot of the side characters were pretty good, and I think the action in this was awesome. And also, we cannot forget about Hans Zimmer's score, one of the most uplifting superhero scores. And yeah, that scene where he takes off and flies for the first time, that scene is incredible. And the visuals in this are awesome, as with every other Zack Snyder film, except for, well, the one that he didn't really do, that where the WB did. And we'll talk about this in our review. But anyways, yeah, those stuff are awesome. And the other thing I really like about it is how it ties into other films. We're mainly Batman versus Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. And I think after seeing those other two films, I appreciate this film more because it kind of gives a complete arc for for Superman. And also I kind of like how the Flash um how the Flash how this ties into the Flash a bit. So I've had a little bit of a new appreciation for this over time, and also I like it how it's not like Superman gets his way. Where I hear a lot of people criticize the final battle, and that's one of those things of what else do you expect if two gods were fighting among us and crashing into buildings? Obviously, people are gonna die. So yeah, that just doesn't make any sense that people would criticize it. Like maybe if you guys didn't like the final battle, maybe thought it was a little too dark, that's fine. But to say it makes no sense, I couldn't disagree more. And also, the final thing that I want to say is that I like it how his origin is like kind of like it's not told in order. Like they kind of tell it out of order a bit, kind of like Batman Begins, which makes sense because Christopher Nolan was executive producer on it. So obviously he probably had a little bit to do with like the origin. Anyways, those are the good elements. Now let's move on to the mixed. And this is something that used to be a negative, but now I would say it moved to mixed because like I still don't entirely know my thoughts. because in the good element, it kind of brings the film up quite a bit, and in the bad element, it kind of drops it down a bit. And that is, and for those of you guys who haven't seen it, there are some spoilers for this. The death of Jonathan Kent. Now, on the good side, I like the element of, it's like, should Superman reveal who he is a bit just to save his father, or should he save his father, and potentially conceal his identity? And so that's for the good stuff. Like, I understand the thematic element, but on the bad side, it's like, I feel like he could have just ran super fast. But yeah. So at first I thought it made no sense. Now I think it makes sense, but I just don't know if I totally like the approach. But I respect that they went for it. So yeah, that just ties into ambition. Like, even if I don't think it quite landed, I respect that they went for it. And now for the bad stuff. There are pockets of this film that sometimes get me a little bit bored. And for other superhero movies, you can kind of say the same. However, maybe I just don't share that same consensus with that. But yeah, this film, like, when I watched it and like I realized there was still an hour left, I was just kind of waiting for the final battle. Which, to be fair, this is definitely not the only superhero movie that has happened, but it's one of the most notable. However, it doesn't, like, bore me so much that I want to turn off the movie, unlike other stuff. So, overall, I still have a pretty fun time with it. But this is not one of my most rewatchable. So, and rewatchability plays a bit of a factor in my scoring. But overall, I really do love this film. I think it starts off the DCEU nicely, and it's a little bit of a shame that for a few years they kind of just fumbled a bit after this. However, I still acknowledge that this film is great, and honestly, I feel like if this film, like, wasn't, like, kind of maybe in the same era as, like, the theatrical cut of Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad, I think this film would get more respected. And we'll talk about Batman vs Superman next. Well, we're going to talk about the Ultimate Edition in my next review, because the theatrical cut, and I'll just say this, the theatrical cut of Batman vs Superman and the Justice League, and the Joss Whedon cut of Justice League are not going to be included in any of my Zack Snyder rankings or reviews, because those are WB films, because we already know what's actual Zack Snyder, because we see his whole vision in the Snyder cut of Justice League and the Ultimate Edition of Batman vs. Superman. So those are the real Zack Snyder films I'm going to review. But anyways, overall, I would give this film an A-, and on the entertainment, I would go a 9 out of 10. And I do recommend this film if you guys haven't seen it. But anyways, that's my review of Man of Steel. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I can't wait to do some more Zack Snyder rankings, especially the next one, which I definitely have a lot of thoughts on Batman vs. Superman, the Ultimate Edition, that I can't wait to share, and I have some new thoughts on it now. So anyways, thanks for watching. Feel free to share your thoughts on Man of Steel down below in the comments, and peace out.